Alright, what's up, y'all? We're battling the wind noise here, so it is what it is. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Welcome. Today is the 23rd of June, 2026. This is a video under our main side, one of the 4 sides to In The Image Clothing Company, where our slogan here is allowing the body to work. So, what are we, who are we, why are we In The Image Clothing Company? Because clothing is a literal wording of anything physically placed on our bodies. They can be glasses, hats, shoes, pants, tops, socks, undergarments, jewelry, anything physically placed on the body. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and I don't have a claim on that. I don't have an opinion to it that could matter, so don't believe me. In The Image Clothing Company, any of our information, through any of our team members, even any of our poodles, we'll talk about it. But don't believe me, okay? I'll be doing this the rest of my entire lifetime, and we just speak things that sound crazy, but the human body is just determined by the shape and length of our own individual bones, connecting directly to each other through ligaments. The body's just measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations, and there truly is only one way the human body could ever work. So what I'm saying is, we can't have opinions on how to get the body to do something, or certain techniques and forms to do things, besides just the only way the bones mesh. We've got a thin layer of cushioning called cartilage between these bones, and they just connect directly to each other through ligaments. They're extremely specifically shaped on the ends. Muscles just connect to bones through tendons and only pull, and only directly in line. So we've got things like 4 different length fingers that wrap evenly around a different length opposable thumb that's got an entirely different function than the fingers. We've got different length 5 toes, that we roll evenly off the end of. There's a lot of things in the body. There's only one way the human body could ever work. And what I'm saying is there's a lot of things that people miss when they try to get their bodies to work. If it's not already just being allowed to function proper, you're never going to get it to try to work even normal. People are trying to do workouts to excessively work their body for a time to gain muscle, for a time that will go away when they stop trying to excessively work their body to get excessive muscle, size, or strength, which are 2 different things in the ways that they are. Anyway, we talk about the anatomy of the human body in depth here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, specifically as one of our 4ths. And we're a clothing company? Kind of. Only because clothing is the only thing physically placed on us. It's about the anatomy and the functionality of the human body and not restricting it, okay? So, what we have happening here is this video's title. On the 23rd of June, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, how you could approach curls naturally. Curls, like you take a bar, you take a couple little bars, a barbell, a dumbbell times 2, right? 2 dumbbells or a whole barbell. Whatever it is, though, pick up any amount of weight and you bend your elbows with the weight, lifting it up off of Earth's vertical gravity pole that meshes with its horizontal surface to the Earth. This perpendicular right 90-degree angle. We're just lifting literal wording of weight off the ground to drop it back down onto the ground with Earth's vertical gravity pull that we're opposing when we come upward. When you're working out, when you're lifting weight, you go to the gym to lift weights. Well, you can lift anything that weighs something. It's just literal wording. Your body always goes back to its only normal once you stop excessively working it out. But how you could approach pull-ups naturally, how you could approach push-ups naturally, how you could approach workouts naturally, how you could approach squats naturally. 4 videos there that we have currently, as of today's date at least, the 23rd of June 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, along the same lines of this title here, about how we could approach doing things like this naturally. The goal is natural on all 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company, and by all means you can choose to gain excessive muscle size or strength, if you will. Size and strength come together in ways, but they're also separate things in ways. You can do that all you'd like to, but afterwards your body goes back to its only normal. Body's temperature is always 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. We've always got a normal amount of fat content versus muscle mass to have a healthy balance individually. A normal amount of lubrication, we call hydration or water, versus fuel, we call food, to have a healthy balance. A normal heart rate always resting, right? A normal breathing rate always at rest. Anyway, there's only a normal to the human being always. And you can, you know, gain some muscle, gain some strength, sure. But it'll go away. So that's what you got to know before you ever try to do any workouts, is it's conditional on you continuing to do it. If you stop doing it, your body goes back to the only way it actually just has its own normal individually, and that's all it can ever do. Okay? It's just what it can. There's no way we'll ever possibly get the human being to do anything. It only does what it does. The wind blows, and boy does it. Start speaking truth, and you know, things happen. Things just happen, bro. Life's just life. Things are just things. You think I'm giving up on this video? Stick around and find out. How you could approach curls naturally. We've got rotations to our bodies. When we bend the elbows, that's what we're doing when we're doing curls. You basically just keep your arms hanging down. You've got the pendulum of your hand from the other end of your arm at your shoulder. When we straighten the hand, you know, from the shoulder by straightening the elbow is what I mean, between the hand and shoulder. We lock the whole arm out. It all does the same thing. Rotation-wise, internal rotation versus external rotation from the neutral. There's always only a neutral to every single part of the human being. And the human body just works activated as a whole, everything playing its own role that it's there to do. It's got its own individual function, and we can't drag around dead weight, so that's why everything in the body's there. It's got its own role to play to make this whole machine operate. Anyway, yeah, we straighten the elbow between the hand and shoulder, and the hand and shoulder do the same thing. And so the hand's just this pendulum from the other end of our shoulder, and then the entire arm is just connected, right? Earth's vertical gravity pull just pulls our arms down with this straightness. And there's only one way this happens. Right? If we don't alter our bodies, they just work. God designed the body to work. Heels on shoes. Ropes introduced to the body. Shoelaces or drawstrings twisting the entire body with a knot one side over the other. Pockets, zippers, buttons. Rotated seams, collar seams, in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, right? We give a lot of free modifications in clothing because there's a lot of these things going on. Oversized clothing, it damages our bodies. We've got joints of clothing material that needs to mesh with joints of body parts, and if it doesn't, our bodies can't work properly. We're trying to work around the only thing physically placed on us. The literal wording of clothing, the way that God clothes the fields with grass, we're designed in the image of God. In the image of Jesus Christ, we're a clothing company to allow the body to work. So clothing's got to stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, at very baseline, at least those three things, to not alter the body. Okay, the body just works unless or until altered. We've got our own individual bodies where we do, but there's a universal human design, and we actually have to do all that we can in our own situations to get as close as we can to the universal human design functioning. These universal laws that are outside of all of us, like Earth's vertical gravity pull and physics, they apply to everything the same. No matter how different your body is, it takes the entire body to some degree to stabilize in every single breath we take. We've got the center line of the body, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull, even opposing musculature from the center line of the body, connecting into the center line of it. The jaw stabilizes the entire body with musculature up to the crown of our head, down to some of the upper ribs, and out to the edges of our shoulders. And yes, it goes directly through the collars of our potentially very imbalanced tops, keeping collars centered. And the importance of snug collars are huge focuses in daily life under In The Image Clothing Company, and video titles currently as well under In The Image Clothing Company's main side as of today's date, the 23rd of June 2026. Okay, so there's only one way the human body could ever work. No possible opinion to it, but it gets into chronic patterning. All these things that I'm discussing imbalance-wise, and we live in a right-handed world with 85%, maybe 90%, give or take, of human beings across the planet Earth being right-handed. products that are designed to be used for one hand are generally right hand usage focused with the designs. We get into a patterning, so a normal pattern is walking, for example, with our thumbs pointing straight forward. But we've got rotations. One side of the body can become more externally rotated, like the right side in a right-handed patterning, which means the left side would have to be internally rotated because there's just two sides opposing the center line of the body, and they do opposing things. If we're going to keep the center in the center, and Earth's vertical gravity pull is centered, the center line of the body is bone at the spine, the only vertical support above the hips, all the way up to the base of the skull when it comes to bone. Yeah, so anyway, there's only one way the human body could ever work. We are a clothing company, but kind of, and only because of the human body's functioning being our focus. Clothing, right? It's got to stay centered. It's got to just let the body not be damaged. Holy cow. Talk about as real as it gets. All right, I will. So how you could approach curls naturally? Well, like I'm saying, this normal pattern of working, like the arms just swinging forward and back when we walk, the feet just swinging forward and back up the legs to the hips when we walk, rolling evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes to share the weight, because that's why they are there. Straight forward from the pinky toes is that neutral from internal or external rotation from the feet up to the hips and the whole leg. And then straight out the pinky finger is that neutral from the outside of the forearm for the wrist to go down or up. Fingers can only possibly ever track in line, otherwise things bind up and everything's on an angle. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work, and there always has been, always will be. Being designed in the image of God, he is called the truth. The same yesterday, today, and forever is anything that ever is or was true. It always will be. We don't get to decide or change truth as human beings, but what people do is have a lot of new ideas of workout plans, positions to put your body into to gain musculature. There's always only one way the human being's bones connect. So, the 23rd of June, 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main site here, how you could approach curls naturally. Well, just walking with our thumbs pointing straight forward. When we bend the elbows, now in the forearms, from the fingertips up to the elbow joint, we've got 2 bones, the radius and the ulna, and they rotate over each other. Remember, there's always a neutral to everything in the entire human being. There's no opinion to it. It's mathematically measurable on your own body, even. But you might be deeply within patterning, as I was, and as we show how to get out of under In the Image Clothing Company here. That's really the goal. Getting out of chronic patterning if you've gotten into it over years and years and years, potentially almost an entire lifetime maybe, within imbalanced clothing, or just living in this right-handed world, or just imbalances in the ways that you've approached life for so many years, or just amounts of time that's created patterning in your body. Yeah. Scar tissue building up and bone spurs building up in the body, where the muscles that connect to the bones through the tendons pull on the bones, but things aren't allowed to be in line, and so the bone gets grown excessively and unnaturally shaped. So does the tendon that connects the muscle to it, and then the muscle as well, because it's all connected. And just trying to work within patterning. So if our thumbs, for example, aren't just pointing straight up when we bend the elbows, or straight forward when we have the arms down at the sides, but they're pointing out into external rotation, or they're pointing in into internal rotation, well, that's only half of the function. There's always a neutral to the entire human being. There's always only one way the human body could ever work. I couldn't have an opinion on it that matters, and really no one could, and so we just have to allow the body to reside in its neutral positions and all of its functioning. Now what happens is, people try to approach curls as one of the things, as this video's title is explaining, under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company on the 23rd of June 2026, how you could approach curls naturally. Well, not in one rotation or the other. But in the neutral. There's 2 sides to both rotations. Well, meaning there's 2 sides, rotations on either side from the neutral in the middle. External rotation, we have the elbows bent with the thumbs pointing up, we point the thumbs out. This is external rotation of the forearm. These two bones in the forearm just roll over each other. Or internal rotation, from the thumbs pointing up at the neutral, we point the thumbs in, and this is internal rotation. Okay, so there's always a neutral, and that's always the thumbs either pointing forward when we're standing with our arms down at our sides, and Earth's vertical gravity pull just pulling us down into good posture, truly, when the body's not altered. Remember, pant waistlines, shoulder seams, heels on the shoes is the big thing. It'll really change how your arms hang with gravity. Everything else will too, but especially just a wedge under your foot. Okay. Anyway, so what I'm saying is we have this neutral position. When we bend the elbows, the thumbs point up. So this is how you'd approach curls naturally. Okay. You'd be in a neutral position. Here comes the wind. Here comes the wind again. You'd be having the thumbs pointing forward when the arms are down. You'd grab some weight in your hands and you'd bend your elbows. Then your thumbs would essentially be pointing up. Maybe you've got your thumbs wrapped around what you're holding with your fingers as well. So your thumbs might be not really pointing up, but you know, in a position where you're neutral and you can still rotate the forearms. There's the wind. That darn wind noise, man, I'm telling you. It's a battle. If it's not the wind, it's airplanes. If it's not airplanes, I don't know if you heard that, but an engine just started up right as I was saying that. There you go. It is what it is, okay? I could film these videos anywhere. I understand. It's another date marked documentation, though. In this case, the 23rd of June, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main site. How you could approach curls naturally. Well, not only are we going to just stay in this neutral position and then just have our arms as if we're just having them rest with Earth's gravity pulling them straight down and then just bend at the elbows, but we're also needing to put focus on the fact that we have rounding to our hands. There's hand arches that correlate with the arches in our feet. We have feet that evenly oppose the center line. I'm telling you, the noise, I'm telling you. I mean, I get it. They're out here working. I chose this park to film this video. I understand, but it's kind of ironic. A lot of times there's not noise until I start filming it. I'm not exaggerating. Or like the certain sounds that do come up in the video come up once I start recording. It is what it is. It's funny. I can't actually complain about it, rightfully. I can't, right? But the feet oppose the center line of the human being. At our foundation, they grip arches inward and keep us vertical. Okay, the feet have different length, 5 toes. They grip in and back just because of the length of the toes. And now we're in a good position, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull. All right. The wind noise, I'm telling you, bro. And then all of a sudden I'm like all extra focused on it. And I know. Maybe it's not as loud in the videos as sometimes I'm talking about it as, you know, it seems to me, but if the hand arches are altered, the feet arches will be altered. If the feet arches are altered, the hand arches will be altered. They correlate with each other. The whole body's connected. Anywhere any of your body goes, it all comes. And so any part of your body that's not working so well, the rest of it's trying to do what it can to compensate, to make up for the role of something not playing its role proper. But that can't happen because everything's got its own function. So when we grab things, we've got to remember, well, the goal is natural. On all 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company, there's always texture to nature. There's always rounding to things like tree trunks, rocks rolling through riverbeds. But not only having a bar that's round that we hold in our hand, and so our fingers can wrap around it, but as our different length 4 fingers wrap around our different length opposable thumb, there's this open rounding to the palm. It's like how the feet have a foot tripod with multiple different arches. The hands curl the fingers around things, but also this other way too. There's a rounding to the palm, like where the fingers come and meet into the hand. There's a rounding horizontally as well as the fingers wrapping around things vertically, if you will, if you can see what I mean. You know, I mean, that's a way I could explain that. So if you grab something like a tree branch, you're going to have all this, you know, texture and bumps on the tree branch, little things that aren't so smooth and flat. Even though we're grabbing a bar, and the bar is like a cylinder and it's round, the bar's flat. Like a dumbbell or a barbell, if it is, they've got some that have accommodation for this rounding in the hand. But that's what I'm saying is, you always have round hands. And if you don't have round feet. What I mean by you don't have round feet in that case is if you can't have your hand open naturally, this open palm, then your feet arches can't stay gripped either with that arch or the rounding under the feet that needs texture as well. You know, grass and dirt and rocks and just anything in nature has this natural texture for our feet to literally grip the ground the way that our hands do. It's a lot of dexterity in the feet. And in fact, there's only one difference in the amount of bones in the feet as there is in the hands. There's a dump truck dumping a bunch of stuff right there. Like gravelly dirt looking stuff. Anyway, yeah, we won't have our hands working properly if our feet don't. Over half of the amount of body's bones are in the hands and feet. Okay, over 100 bones. This is about 106 bones, I'm pretty sure, in just the hands and feet alone. So, if we're grabbing something with our hands that's just flat and doesn't allow for this open palm, the rounding to our hands, the hands won't work properly. And then that travels to the shoulder because the hand is the shoulder, like we showed when we straighten the elbow between the two. They just do the exact same thing, rotation-wise, and anywhere the hand goes, the shoulder goes. Under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, there's a video titled The Open Palm and Internal Rotation. So it's really hard to have internal rotation if we don't have this rounding to our open palm. If our hands flatten out, our arm wants to drop down into external rotation. Okay, up an internal rotation or down an external rotation is how the body works. We give a lot of context on this under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here when we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. And there's only one way it happens. The collarbone or the clavicle, it pivots up and internal rotation, or it pivots down and external rotation because it's just directly to bone on either end. It starts at the top of the sternum here, this bone in the front of the chest, this end of the collarbone or clavicle, two names for the same bone. It comes up and out and becomes one of the three bones of the shoulder. Well, it becomes the shoulder. It's one of the three bones that does that. And then it just meets directly to bone on this end as well. So the collarbone just pivots around. As it comes up, it just pivots in just because of how it's connected to the body. As it goes down, it pivots out. Internal rotations up, opposing Earth's vertical gravity pull, and external rotations down, dropped more. We live in this right-handed world where our right side is usually dropped more externally rotated and farther away from our body's center line, where the musculature connects it to the center of the body, than the left side is usually. Okay, so what happens is this neutral resides in between. The neutral for the thumbs pointing up when bent at the elbows is just between internal rotation or external rotation. But this only happens if we can have this nice open palm, so that we can have a nice open shoulder capsule, so that we can have all the natural motion in our shoulders. And if the hand flattens, it's hard to get even neutral, and then it's hard to get internal with our rotations. Okay, so how you could approach curls naturally. Don't do it with a barbell. You only have two options. If you have just one fixed bar with two hands grabbing onto it, you're either going to be all the way in external rotation in the forearms with the palms up on only half of your rotations from the neutral. Here comes the wind. Here comes the wind. Here it comes. The wind's blowing. It's permanent documentation. Truth, I don't get to decide this. There's only one way the bones connect in the body. You don't want to grab a barbell, though, with internal rotation and have your hands palm down, both wrapped around the same bar. That's only one half of your rotations from the neutral. Okay. There's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. There's no possible opinion to it that could ever matter. Even if I had one myself, it has to reside in its neutral positions for it to all work properly. Otherwise, it's just lacking part of its function. And an entire half, all the way on one side of a rotation from the neutral. So you can go to the gym or do it wherever you do it, right? Do workouts and do all the curls you want to do in your life in external rotation. You're in an imbalance, halfway out of your neutral when there's two sides to the neutral. It's not just the forearm, just these two bones, the radius and ulna, but the hand will do everything the shoulder does. It's got to stem from somewhere. The hand comes from the shoulder, but the shoulder comes from the spine. The spine comes really from the feet first, at least supported-wise, on Earth's vertical gravity pull. And maybe we could say the spine comes from the brain first, that then stems into the spine with the spinal cord that feeds electricity through the nervous system out through the entire body to even tell the muscles to activate and work. All the muscles of the body do is pull. Okay, wow, I said that in a way I wasn't expecting to, with the drama behind it. Muscles pull, though. We pull to close a hinge joint. We have opposing muscles that pull to extend a hinge joint. Like the elbow, there's just opposing muscles. The body can only pull. Its muscle fibers firing. Electrical signals get sent from the brain. Okay, that's how the body works. Or it doesn't. And we fall down onto the ground, really. The only way we can have our bodies opposing Earth's vertical gravity pull, to stand up or even sit up or even just breathe, is by muscles activating. Well, even just digesting food or blinking. The eyes. Okay, whatever it is, it's muscles activating any motion in the body, any functioning, just the human being alive. Even the brain itself is a muscle. I'm saying all this context to just say I don't have an opinion on it. You don't want to be doing curls on one side or the other side of your rotations. And it's not even that you necessarily want to, yeah, you don't, right? Your body doesn't want this. You shouldn't train your curls if you choose to do workouts to try to gain muscle size and or strength for a time that will go away once you stop trying to gain it. You don't do it half in external rotation and half in internal to try to balance it out. Everything you ever do in your life, your thumbs are going to have to be neutral. Your thumbs meaning your whole hand, meaning your whole wrist, meaning your whole forearm up to your elbow, and then again the elbow is traveling up to the shoulder from the hand. The whole arm always is in a neutral position if you're standing. Try to walk with your arms all the way in internal rotation. You hit your thumbs into your own legs. Right below your hips. Okay. That area at least, depending on the proportions of your body, but yeah. Okay, yes. Right below your hips. If you take, yeah, and that's the thing is the elbows sit at the natural waist, above the hip bones and below the lowest ribs, because that's where that neutral is, height-wise, of the shoulder. The elbow's neutral is the same as the shoulder's neutral because the elbow is the bottom end of the upper arm bone called the humerus and the shoulder's the top end of the upper arm bone called the humerus. They always go the exact same location. They're connected by an immovable by itself bone. There's truly only one way the human body could ever work. I couldn't even have an opinion on it that could matter. Okay, so don't believe people is what I mean. Don't go listen to all these workout plans. They're false. If they're not just first saying, well, there's only one way your body works. It's just how the bones connect. And now let's just maybe gain some strength in musculature or size in musculature from there. That's all you could do in that case. Try to externally rotate your hands, all the way up to your shoulders, all the way, and try to walk like that. You'll never do it. There's just a neutral. The thumbs point forward and the arms are straight, and Earth's vertical gravity just pulls the pendulum of the hand vertical from the other end of the shoulder. We bend the elbows, and the thumbs point up. The thumbs point up in the neutral. So always do anything like this neutral. You gaining muscle, size or strength, combination of the two. You always do it neutral. But you don't know where that is if you don't know where that is. And also, you don't know how to get there if you're just not there already. In the Image Clothing Company, God designed the body to work. Look at the babies, look at the toddlers. They've got all their natural motion. It doesn't go anywhere. It's impossible for us to lose range of motion. It's just how far the bones of the human being go until they hit into each other. Once you're full grown, you've got the same bones for the rest of your body. Really, okay? Your full range of motion can't leave you. The full range, you can bend all the motion of your body. It's always just there. We can have limited access to it through patterning. But this is the thing. What's going to cause this patterning? I don't have a sales pitch. I have the truth that I don't get to decide. The only thing physically placed on this physical body is our clothing. It's just a literal word. We can just say we're just physically clothing our bodies with things, no matter what it is. Jewelry, hats, right? Like I'm saying, anything. It's clothing the body. This grass is clothing the dirt beneath it that I'm standing on right now. It's literal wording in the Image Clothing Company. That's why we're here, is to allow the body to work. So, we talked about very clearly where clothing sits on the universal human design. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be. You're just a human being. There's only one way the human being functions. It's mathematics. But, you know, there's a lot that you have to know to be intentional about. Like I say, you don't have to care to even want to try to care about clothing. But it'll damage your body. Pretty well permanently. Unless or until fixed or addressed, you've got this chronic, if you will, patterning that gets built up. Just trying to work around something in your way. So we've got things like in the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, just the only way the top of the feet are shaped if we're going to weave a rope across the top of them. Every step we take, we lift the foot up as half of the function, and that's determined by the top of the shoe. We lift the whole shoe up off of Earth's vertical gravity pull every time we take a step.